play. Openings like turn 3 Thunderbreak Regent, turn 4 Stormbreath Dragon, backed up by a little bit of removal, can keep Devotion off balance long enough to take the game.
And we mentioned flyers. There are 4 Stormbreath Dragons, there are 4 Thunderbreak Regents. That's not going to surprise you. But there are actually 2 copies of Ash Cloud Phoenix here in Hefner's deck too. So he's looking to get to the skies.
Yes, and that's a sound recipe. Now, if Loren is on the play with mana acceleration, he can overpower those kind of starts. He can't really block flyers effectively. Only the 1 copy of Hornet Queen and 3 copies of Dragon Lord Atarka. Those are a little bit on the slow side, but if he gets to those cards ahead of schedule, they're so much more powerful than anything that Jessy does that Loren can stabilize the game even if he never kills those creatures.
Acceleration is quite important for the Devotion deck, and Nolen has some in Rattleclaw Mystic as we are underway here in round number 1 from Indianapolis, sacrificing a wooded foothills. We'll see what land he wants to dig out as he goes down to 18, and it'll be just a mountain. We're pretty used to those stomping grounds and stuff from the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, the fetch lands are a little faster to resolve in this format than they are in Modern.
Here's a Xenagos, the Reveler. I think we're going to have a Satyr token on the way, and we do, so an attack for 2. Xenagos really kind of what holds this deck together. That's been talked about a lot in articles over the past couple of weeks.
It's a way for the deck to punish control decks that are trying to lean on sweepers, because any Planeswalker is going to be pretty good in that kind of spot. It's a way of generating a lot of mana in spots where the game slows down a little bit, which can happen with Devotion. It's very good at mucking up the ground. It can make a lot of blockers. Cards like Corsair, Crufix, and Flukernos, Whisperwood Elemental, very good at blocking. And Xenagos can enable some pretty explosive turns with the plus power generating a bunch of mana.
A mountain here for Hefner. He does not have mana acceleration, so already he's behind. And we'll see what the play will be here for him as he immediately taps 3 mana. Perhaps something like a Death Mist Raptor, which he does have 4 copies of. Have Morse in his deck as well in Den Protector. Also has 4 copies of Goblin Rabblemaster, so you'd be surprised not to see anything here on turn 3.
And this is one of the problems that Dragons has in the matchup. Now, there are some advantages going for it. You know, the Devotion deck doesn't answer Creator's Claws very well, and it's vulnerable to flyers, but when you get behind in terms of mana, when you get behind on the board, what Devotion does is so much more powerful than what you do that it's very hard for Dragons to catch up.
I expect like something pretty big from Loren this turn. He's already got Nykthos out there, Rattleclaw Mystic, and Xenagos too. So we could see a very explosive turn 4 here. There's Corsair of Crufix. Take a look at the top card. It's an Elvish Mystic. Of course, with the Devotion, plenty of things to ramp to. We mentioned Dragon Lord Atarka. There's Genesis Hydra. There's Hornet Queen, Whisperwood Elemental. The top end of this deck is pretty crazy. Nykthos is going to generate 4 mana. Looks like we're going to have 2 copies of Sylvan Carry added on the way, and we do.
And now Jesse's completely at the mercy of Loren's hand.
Pretty much.
He has no answer to the board, really. And he just has to hope that Loren doesn't have one of his top-end payouts. But Loren has so many of those cards in his deck, and he's missing land drops. Feels unlikely.
You know, a positive is that there's an Elvish Mystic on top of the deck, so you know he's not going to draw anything very good. You have to hope those cards in hand there on Nolen's side are not very good if you're Jessy Hefner. Because your Goblin Rabblemaster at this point, that's not much of a card anymore.
No.
So he's got to get to the skies. Again, that's a weakness for Green Red Devotion. So 4 Stormbreath Dragons, 4 Thunderbreak Regents, 2 Ash Cloud Phoenix. That allows Hefner to go upstairs.
And that's why I think play draw matters so much in this matchup too. If Jesse's on the play, he has a turn 3 Rabblemaster facing down a Rattleclaw Mystic. It becomes awkward for Loren to play Xenagos the following turn. But on the play here, he just has so much of a foothold in this game because of the mana he's generated.
The Goblins have to attack, of course. They will get blocked. That means they are going to leave the battlefield. Hefner plays a copy of Manic Influence. He's got to take 1 to cast whatever this spell will be, and it is a flyer, fortunately for him, in Thunderbreak Region. That's a good place to start. Elvish Mystic is the draw. Top card of the deck is Whisperwood Elemental. I'm only going to play Mystic. It's kind of a freebie with Nykthos out there. Xenagos too.
Better than free.
Yeah.
It's plus mana.
The question now is, as Loren is doing the counting, leads me to believe he has a payoff card.
Yes.
I would have been very surprised if he didn't, but given those fingers and how they're moving, there's a payoff card over there. It's a good one. It's a Dragon Lord Atarka. It's going to come in. Looks like it's going to shoot down Thunderbreak Regent, perhaps. Of course, there will be a trigger from the Regent. The Regent will redirect the damage to take care of the Xenagos. But I think I would trade my Xenagos for an 8/8.
Yep. Against a green-red deck?
Yeah. I'd be just fine with Dragon Lord Atarka. Here comes Corsair and a Satyr token. Some damage will be coming across here. I don't think Goblin Rebel Master has interest in blocking, but then again, Rebel Master doesn't appear to be doing a lot this game.
It does. I don't think it matters either way.
Jesse agrees with you.
Yeah, I agree with Jesse.
That's, you guys are a team this morning.
Let it go, man.
Lauren Nolen going to win game number 1 here over Jesse Hefner. Green-Red Devotion up a game very quickly against Green-Red Dragons. That's the recipe for Nolen's side. For Hefner, I think being on the play matters quite a bit, and he's just got to get out to a flyer very early.
Yeah, and Mana Acceleration to play ahead of the schedule is really important, too. You know, Jesse's got a lot of good elements in his deck for the matchup. Mana Acceleration to flyers, a little bit of removal, Creator's Clause, but for all those cards to matter, he needs to get out in front. Being on the play helps a lot, but Mana Acceleration is critical to that game plan.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with Jesse Hefner. He's got a copy of Twin Bolt, an Outpost Siege, a Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. Haven't seen that card for a while. 2 Xenagos the Reveler, Reclamation Sage, 2 copies of Plummet, 2 Barrage of Boulders, 2 Rose, 2 Arc Lightning, and a copy of Hornet Nest. What do we like here?
I'm down with the removal spells. I like Rose and Arc Lightning. I think Hornet Nest is okay. People bring in a Devotion kind of reflexively. I'm not that big of a fan of it, but it's nice if you're attacking in the air. I think that Barrage of Boulders is fine for this matchup because the board can get gummed down in a pretty significant way. And I like the 1 copy of Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker a lot. Jesse's game plan for the matchup is removal and flyers, and Sarkhan can be both of those cards.
And for Mr. Nolen?
Anissa Whirlwicker, a Xenagos Reveler, a Nugan the Spirit Dragon, a Den Protector, an Arbor Colossus, a Roast, 2 copies of Plummet, a Windstorm, 3 Nylea's Disciple, 3 Hornet Nets. I think Lauren definitely wants the anti-flyer measures like Windstorm and Arbor Colossus, the 2 copies of Plummet. I don't think the Planeswalkers are particularly well suited for this matchup, especially with Lauren on the draw. So I would just hang back with the anti-flyer cards and probably bring in the Roast as well as just additional removal.
Well, we will talk about the Season 3 schedule here on the Open Series as we are underway. This is kind of our first official standalone event. And we had a little Season 3 action at the conclusion of the Season 2 Invitational. But, of course, Grand Prix Charlotte in the books. Michael Malone, the champion, with Elves, which was a lot of fun to watch. Now we're in Indianapolis, and some really good dates after that.
Exactly. Next weekend, we're going to be in Baltimore. We're going to take a few weeks off to start July, and then we're going to be in Chicago for the first time in Open Series history. After that, we go to Richmond for a Standard Open, Legacy in Washington, D.C., a Standard Grand Prix in London, back to Charlotte for a Modern Open Series event, and then the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey, Standard and Legacy as the invitational formats with a 2-day $20,000 Standard Open Series event, August 28th through the 30th.
Of course, at the Season 3 events, when you do...
So popular.
When you...
And who can blame them?
Yeah,
Sorry, finish the promo.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you sign up, you can get one of these. It is, of course, Tassiper.
The Golden Paw.
There you go. I wanted to let you finish that one.
Bananas, the dog slave.
Yeah.
This playmat has been, in a series of extremely popular playmats, this playmat stands out as being particularly popular.
This is the one you love the most.
Everyone loves this one the most.
This is true. It is, of course, Tassiper. You sign up for any event during Season 3, our main event, you get one of these. No strings attached, as you like to say.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to give us your address. We don't mail these out after the event or give them to the first X people who register. This is just free and unlimited. Sign up for one of the Open Series events in Season 3 and get your hands on this playmat. Or pause, as it were.
You're firing all cylinders
all
this morning.
Cylinders, man.
I don't even think you've had the coffee yet.
No, I'm already 1 coffee down. I got a line on coffee number 2.
Perfect.
That's coming down the pipeline momentarily.
Yep, that's great. Because
the first one is just to get the engine revved up. You know what I mean?
The second one, now you're really moving.
Right. Then we got a little momentum going.
Gotcha. I might have to explore this coffee thing. Maybe give it a shot. Not really for me, but
no, and it's better. You're better served not doing those kind of things on the balance. You know,
well, I'm the energy guy normally.
Right. Well, I'm not even saying from a stylistic standpoint. More what I mean is, if you can get through your life not using substances on a day-to-day level, you know, and caffeine is a drug. It's relative to other drugs, it's pretty harmless, still a drug. If you can go through your life with as little of it as possible, you're going to be better served. I unfortunately started drinking coffee at a very young age, and now I'm a bit of a caffeine addict. So it goes.
But you love coffee.
I do. I'm trying to wean myself off of it a little bit. But I do really like it a lot. That's part of the problem.
I just don't think it tastes very good.
And then you're in great shape then. Then don't bother with it.
But I've also never had like a cappuccino before or an espresso, so maybe I'll dabble.
Yeah, I mean, you can try it. If you don't like coffee, there's a good chance that stuff's not going to stick, but, you know, people have different tastes. And, of course, you can always, you know, vanilla, sugary, flavor it up to your heart's content, so.
Yeah, hazelnut creamer,
Right.
as it were. There's a mulligan from Jessy. Very, very quick mulligan. Did not like his opening hand.
The caramel macchiato, for example, only vaguely related to coffee. I mean, I know it's served at the same place and it's on the menu with other things that are actually coffee, but several degrees of separation.
What exactly is a frappuccino?
It's like ice cream and sugar and I think some amount of caffeine. It's not good for you is the short of it.
I was never under that illusion.
Yeah.
For some reason, something being called a frappuccino does not strike me as particularly healthy.
Yeah, well, so I think Starbucks realized, well, we got a group of people who don't really like coffee very much, but they do like sugar.
Sure.
So how do we find a way to get to that share of the market, you know?
An Elvish Mystic to begin things here for Nolen. We saw Hefner start off with a Temple of Abandon, put the top card to the bottom, a Manic Influence, and a Draconic Roar. Ooh, with no Dragon Reveal. That's unfortunate. But keeping the mana acceleration down is obviously ideal.
That's step one. But Jessy also needs his dragons in the matchup. He
Yes.
needs flyers.
Wooded Foothills looks like it's coming off the top. Hefner going to go down to 18. Again, he's got a lot of 3-mana spells in his deck. Deathmist Raptor, Den Protector is a morph.
This is a great spot for Goblin Rabble Master. I mean, this is how you draw it up against an empty board with an opponent with very little removal in their deck.
Does Hefner have the Rabble Master? He's got a Deathmist Raptor. He'll pass the turn back over to Nolen. Nolen with a Rattleclaw Mystic as the draw. Remember, these Devotion decks, they cheat on mana a little bit because they have so much acceleration, so it doesn't surprise me to see Nolen's turn just being Rattleclaw Mystic and pass the turn back. Now the Draconic Roar that's in Hefner's hand is still pretty good.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways you can try to fight this strategy is just a cheap base of threats backed up by a couple wild slashes and lightning strikes. I mean, you're going to lose a lot of games that way when you're on the draw, when they get in front of you, but when you're on the play, it's not bad.
Hefner going to play Barrage of Boulders.
Boom.
We don't see that very often unless you're attacking for the win, but it's good enough right now to get Rattleclaw Mystic off the board.
Yeah, I think Jessy wants to save his Draconic Roar in hand for either a larger threat or hopefully he draws a dragon at some point and then can kick it up.
Certainly not the prettiest turn. Not the prettiest turn there from Nolen either. Playing a Nykthos, leaving one in play, of course, given the legendary rule, to be able to deploy a Hornet Nest. But Hornet Nest is a pretty solid roadblock right now.
Oh, absolutely. Hornet Nest is great in this spot.
Hefner going to take a look. It is certainly annoying, Jessy.
Yeah, and if Jessy didn't need his flyers before, he certainly needs his flyers now.
Yeah. You don't want to Draconic Roar this thing. I mean, Deathmist Raptor can get through the first part. That's land number 4. A mountain there for Hefner and now a morph. Again, that could be a Deathmist Raptor. It can be a Den Protector. I think if it was Ashclaw Phoenix, he would have just played it face up.
Probably. Rattleclaw Mystic, perhaps?
Also true. All Nolen can do is pass the turn back and hide behind his Hornet Nest. It certainly slowed Hefner down a little bit here.
Hornet Nest is just brutal on beatdown decks that are trying to attack on the ground.
And if your way of clearing through it is not something like a Doomblade or a Hero's Downfall, it's even worse.
Yeah. Goblin Heel Cutter is a pretty good answer, but you need something pretty specific. Trying to, you know, use a damage-based removal spell on it and then attack through the leftovers, that's really hard to do. And Jessy now just has to wait for a flyer or to be able to go really wide around it.
Elvish Mystic was the play. Here's the Nykthos play yet again from Nolen. He's drawn a couple copies of that. Again, Legendary Rule's going to leave one in play. Allows him to tap the 1 for mana. And now here's a copy of Pelucranos. That's another roadblock.
And Lauren can be pretty liberal making these lines of play because Jesse's unlikely to punish him. His removal's all damage-based. So unless he has Roast, Pelucranos is good to go. And any removal spell that Jesse's going to use against Hornet Nest is going to generate a lot of value. So this would be a risky play to make against a deck packing Hero's Downfall, but against a deck like Red-Green, go nuts.
That's the kind of card he's looking for. It's a copy of Stormbreath Dragon. Get to the skies, get some damage, rocking and rolling, make it so that Hornet Nest and Pelucranos don't really matter because at this point, Hefner really can't get through on the ground.
No, it's pretty much locked up.
Unfortunately for him, that ship sails pretty quickly in this matchup. That's why he brings in a card like Barrage of Boulders, of course, to be able to force through those last points of damage. Temple of Abandon there from Nolen. Looks like he put the top card to the bottom with the Scry trigger. Got a Pelucranos activation. It's going to take care of the Elvish Mystic. But unfortunately for Blue Nose, that thing can't really attack either because of Death Mist Raptor. So a little bit of a staring contest at this point for both players, except for Hefner, excuse me, has the copy of Stormbreath Dragon.
This is where Jessy wants to be in the matchup. He's got a flyer. He's used his removal spells to contain Lauren's mana acceleration. The ground is mostly mucked up, but the flyer is uncontested. And now that's 8 damage for Stormbreath Dragon.
There's another Elvish Mystic and a passing of the turn. Nolen down to 9. Does make you wonder what that morph is at this point.
I'm starting to think that it has to be Rattleclaw Mystic because there's been other good opportunities at this point to unmorph something like Den Protector. Death Mist Raptor, I think, likely would have just been cast face up. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I think it's likely it would have been cast face up.
No, it looks like he might be considering a Courser. He is. Take a look at the top card. It's a Whisperwood Elemental. That's not going to solve the problem against flyers. All you can do is pass the turn back over to Hefner. Hefner will untap and take a draw step.
And if this is Rattleclaw Mystic,
I think it is. Yeah, he's got the Surge of Mana to be able to go monstrous here.
yeah, this should just be a lethal attack unless Lauren has something really fancy.
Nothing fancy here for Lauren Nolen. So Jesse Hefner is going to win game number 2 against Lauren Nolen. Green-Red Dragons and Green-Red Devotion going to get ready for a 3rd game here. And each game is kind of indicative of what each player is trying to do. For Devotion, you're trying to gum up the ground and do something powerful, which was Dragon Lord Atarka. For Hefner, just get to the skies.
Exactly. Jesse used a mixture of creature removal on mana acceleration plus found a flyer while Lauren was incapable of doing any of his big plays. That's Jesse's game plan. Game 1, you saw Lauren there get out of the gates really fast with mana acceleration into powerful plays, and Jesse has no recourse in those kind of circumstances unless he has something like a lot of flyers backed up by Crater's Claws, and he wasn't able to find that stuff in time.
Both these players are going to get ready here for game number 3. We will talk about Star City Games Game Night, very popular promotion. And I want to thank all of you guys at home for playing that. We won't be able to give away these sweet things like the bunny here in June without you.
We are running out of time in June, though.
Yes.
I mean, we're hitting the end of the month here. This is the June kit. We send out a new kit every month with new pins and tokens. Game night can be run any day of the week. Sanctioned, unsanctioned, any format you want. Just get players in your store for some fun and friendly magic. If you're a retailer looking to get signed up for this program, it's too late to get signed up for July, and we have the July kit ready to go, the Piglet here. But if you want to get signed up for August, which we have here, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night now, or contact your Star City Games organized play representative.
It is, of course, the thieving monkey, as you have
claimed.
Well,
I don't know. Usually we have these pins and tokens, and then the playmat gets revealed, and we see the entire shot, and usually it gives us a little more information to work with. That said, I believe the monkey is stealing that batch of bananas.
We are under the belief that someone or something is chasing it.
Right.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, when someone's running away with something, a group of something, and some of those things are dropping behind them, but they seem to value running faster more than picking those things up, usually means they stole something.
And we'll have to wait for the whole playmat to find out.
Well, yeah.
That's kind of the fun
I can't
part.
wait. I'm really excited about the full reveal.
Perhaps some animals chasing down them, or maybe other monkeys.
Yeah. A retailer.
There's just some human chasing the monkey down.
Right.
I imagine a man in a safari hat. I'm thinking Ben Friedman.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Ben Friedman chasing him down. A gentleman with a love for the jungle,
Yeah.
Ben Friedman.
Known safari enthusiast. Ben Friedman.
Get our match.
Who's now co-captain of the newly reformed Team Target, which makes me very excited.
Really?
Co-captains with Christian Calcano.
Very
I could
nice.
not be happier about this.
Your old team.
From the ashes.
That's actually kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Our match here between Jesse Hefner and Lauren Nolen. They're going to game number 3. Hefner, an invitational runner-up during the Season 1 Invitational of 2014. And Lauren Nolen, a former invitational champion a couple of years ago, 2012, in Indianapolis.
Yep. Some shared invitational history between these two.
Absolutely.
So we've seen 2 typical games so far of the matchup. Player on the play being able to kind of do their thing. Interested to see if Jesse can perhaps mix that pattern up here in game 3.
Elvish Mystic is the start here for Nolen. And fortunate for Hefner, he's able to keep up as he has an Elvish Mystic of his own. The difference here in the matchup is that Hefner can actually kill an opposing Elvish Mystic Oh, Nolen really cannot. You see Arbor Colossus, the reveal off of Courser.
But this is, again, the issue with the play draw aspect of the matchup. Although Roast is a huge deal here for Jessy.
That is a pretty big deal.
How good was Draconic Roar on the play, and how good would Draconic Roar been on the play this game? Would have been awesome.
Yep.
On the draw, less so.
Yeah. Still probably a necessary tool.
Yeah, I'm not saying Jessy boards it out. It's just easier for Lauren to go Mega Acceleration to some big creature, and now the game's about big creatures, and your various shocks don't really do very much.
Temple of Abandon. We got a little scry action here for Nolen. Whisperwood Elemental among the cards in his hand, so that will inform his decision. We can't forget about the Arbor Colossus as well. Both players know about that. He's going to leave that card on top, come across with Elvish Mystic, and simply pass the turn back. So a card like Draconic Roar, actually pretty good right now.
And Jessy does have Thunderbreak Regent in hand. He doesn't appear to have land number 4 coming to play down tap, so that settles it. But I was interested to see, would he play Thunderbreak Regent this turn or kill the Mana Acceleration? I think he's got to kill Elvish Mystic in this spot.
I do too. I think you have to force Screen of Devotion to have them the magical combination of cards if they have to have all the appropriate mana and then the payoff cards.
Yes.
So if you can slow down their acceleration, I think that's where you want to be. Looks like a tough scry here for Hefner.
Lauren's hand's pretty clunky. I mean, he does have Whisperwood Elemental and Arbor Colossus and 2 lands, so that's not bad. But if this Elvish Mystic gets killed and he doesn't draw something to do next turn, he just loses that turn entirely.
Yep. Hefner's going to leave that card on top. Here's a copy of Deathness Raptor now, just a passing of the turn. So the heavy hitters can start coming out here for Nolen now. He'll start by sacrificing a Wooded Foothills, go down to 18. Forest or Mountain coming. No Ravnica dual lands here. It'll just be a basic forest.
I believe Lauren just drew his 1 sideboard copy of Windstorm, which is just great here.
Yep. It's going to do a nice job of insulating him against flyers. He's already got Arbor Colossus, but now he's got a lot more help.
His hand's already so good at gumming up the ground, and now he's got something great to take care of the air should that get out of control.
Whisperwood Elemental is going to bring a Manifest along with it. We're going to head back Hefner's way. The ground is already starting to get gummed up. That Deathness Raptor, I mean, Death Touch is great, obviously, but it gets outclassed pretty quick.
I love the play of Whisperwood Elemental that turn from Lauren. Not only is it, you get your token right away, but it's also saying to Jessy, hey, play a bunch of flyers. Like, the ground's getting locked up. Commit your resources to play as many flyers as you possibly can. And then Arbor Colossus and Windstorm get to be awesome.
Here comes Deathness Raptor. Doesn't really have much of a choice but to attack. And no surprise to see Nolen not blocking here. Got a lot of life to work with. Thunderbreak Region is the follow-up and just a passing of the turn back Nolen's way. You mentioned the Windstorm in hand. We already know about the Arbor Colossus too. So Nolen with no shortage of things to do with his mana. There's a Wooded Foothills.
Now, Lauren took that shot last turn, and 15 is a pretty safe life total. Worth keeping in mind, though, Jessy, with Crater's Claws in his deck, most likely, and Lauren doesn't have a way to counter that or make him discard it. Yep. So he can't be too willy-nilly with his life total. At a certain point, he does need to consider chump blocking to keep himself out of Crater's Claws range.
He's going down to 14 right now. 3 copies of Crater's Claws in Hefner's main deck this weekend. No copies in the sideboard. It's unclear how many he's left in after sideboard, but having that kind of reach available to conclude a game and perhaps steal one, I think pretty important for him.
Yeah, especially against a deck like Devotion. As you're seeing here, the game pretty quickly gets to a spot where Jessy can't attack anymore, assuming Lauren is doing his thing. We're hitting that point now, and Arbor Colossus is making attacking really prohibitive, but Crater's Claws is still capable of stealing this game.
Another Manifest there from the Whisperwood Elemental and a passing of the turn. You saw Arbor Colossus join the battlefield for Nolen's side as well. So he is doing what his deck does, gumming things up, making it very difficult for Hefner to attack. A lot of mana here for Jessy. Crater's Claws is going to go after Arbor Colossus. X is 6 right now because Ferocious isn't engaged, thanks to the Thunderbreak Regent. So that's going to get the job done. That's a step in the right direction.
Yep, and that's the only Arbor Colossus in Lauren's 75. Now there are 2 copies, excuse me. 0 main deck copies of Den Protector, 1 in the sideboard, and I would be surprised if the sideboarded copy came in here. Matchup's a little too fast for that.
Death Raptor is going to be double blocked. It's going to take care of both the Morphs, of course, because Death Touch, you can spread the damage around. Thunderbreak Region is going to get some damage in. You see both of the manifest creatures were just Temple of Abandon, so nothing doing there. Nolen going to go down to 10. His board has been slowed down a little bit, but again, the Windstorm was such a crucial draw for him.
Yeah, such a huge deal here. I mean, it's a removal spell. Even if Jessy follows up with something like Stormbreath Dragon, in that case actually gets a lot better.
Yep.
It's something that doesn't target also, which is really nice for answering Thunderbreak Regent.
Here come the Knuckleheads. It's going to be an attack there for 6 from Nolen. He will manifest and pass the turn back. Hefner down to 13. Another copy of Thunderbreak Region in hand here for Jessy, so he can reload accordingly in the sky. It's a copy of Draconic Roar in hand. You can see the Death Raptor there too. See if he wants to play some things pre-combat or play them post-combat. Looks like he's going to start by attacking. Looks like Nolen is going to consider the Windstorm now. And there is Windstorm.
Yeah, I don't think Lauren can afford to take another hit here. It's too risky.
I don't think
At
so
that point,
either.
he risks losing to Crater's Claws, even if Thunderbreak Regent gets answered.
There's another Thunderbreak Region and a passing of the turn. Nolen will draw a card. He was empty-handed post-Windstorm. So what he's got on the table is really what he has.
And this is kind of a middle ground between the two games. Lauren has gotten to do his thing, but Jessy has poked enough holes in Lauren's defensive flyers here that he might be able to steal the game before Lauren takes advantage of the overwhelming advantage and resources he's about to generate here.
Yeah, Lauren's got to pick up the pace and try to get this game over with.
Yeah. There's no doubt Lauren's doing more powerful stuff at this stage of the game, but it might not be fast enough.
That's why we're going to see him get pretty aggressive here with all his attackers, because he realizes, I got to get this game over with Xenagos and all the mana it can provide. At this point, it doesn't really matter all that much. A little bit of blocking to be done. After doing some math, trying to figure out if there's a way for him to get this game over with next turn.
Yeah, I mean, if he has something like Draconic Roar, he may be able to, for example, tag the Manifest token. That knocks it down to 7, and then if he's got 2 more points from somewhere, he might win the game this turn.
As it stands, Hefner is down to 5. He's attacking. What's the follow-up going to be? Arc Lightning is a real good draw. There's Draconic Roar with a dragon in play, and that's going to get the job done. Jessy Hefner is going to win this match against Lauren Nolen 2-1. Green-Red Dragons will take care of Green-Red Devotion. One of the weaknesses of a Devotion strategy is the skies, and you saw that right there.
Yeah, and having the roast there on the draw is so important to keep Corsair Crewfix off the table, and Jessy able to answer the one good answer to flyers in Arbor Colossus, generate a second flyer after the Windstorm, and that was enough to kill Lauren before he could really turn the corner and start attacking really for a lot of damage and be able to end the game quickly.
It was very important that Hefner had the answer to Arbor Colossus, obviously, with Crater's Claws, and then had a backup dragon. But again, he's got 10 flyers in his deck. A lot of dragon decks only have 8 in 4 Thunderbreak Region and 4 Stormbreath Dragons. And even though Ash Cloud Phoenix didn't really show up, I think part of the reason he's got 2 of those in his main deck this weekend is because we expect, and I think he expects as well, a lot of Devotion this weekend.
Yeah, it's got some games against Esper Dragons too. It's it's pretty good in control matchups in general. So if you're looking for a threat to be good against Green Devotion strategies and Esper Dragons at the same time, Ash Cloud Phoenix makes a lot of sense. It's anemic in some of the more aggressive matchups. It's not powerful all the time, but if those are the 2 decks at the top of your radar, I think playing a couple of copies of